Well, let's hear some hot takes on British private schools. This video is for entertainment solely. If you use this to choose schools for yourself or for your children and they end up in a miserable place, it's your fault. If your feelings are hurted by what I say here, well, too bad. And let me explain the standard of how this is going to work. The ranking of them is going to be 100% subjective. All of those schools I have either attended myself or have friends attending there. And I'll be considering all aspects of the school. Reputation, networking, alumni histories, traditions, living experience there, and academic. I put academic last for a reason because, those schools are very expensive schools. And most schools are going to cost you 60k these days with VAT. Which is funny enough because our warden needs to bring up VAT at every single speech he gives everywhere, which is interesting. With the VAT, it's very expensive schools. If you care about academics solely, just get yourself a tutor, right? And schools should be about other things, like the experience of growing up there, having a personality sort of built there, and just an experience in general. And so at some point, I'm going to sound unreasonable with the standard, but just bear in mind, those schools are going to cost you 60k a year. And then let's start with a Winchester College, which is a solid S tier, and I think it's sort of I'm going to explain why Winchester College, of what it means to be S tier schools. All those schools needs to have these things, right? Old tradition. Winchester is one of the oldest schools in the UK. In fact, it has a claim to be the oldest school that has not stopped teaching since 1382. With old schools, you come with great traditions that are fun to be a part of and really help with the sort of bonding you do there, because we do something particular between us. We do incredibly academically. We believe I think would beat Eton and Harrow in academic wise. And we got some great facility, great incredible buildings. We got some very well qualified teachers. Notice I said qualified instead of good. No, but there are really good ones, and some, most of them would have went to Oxford or Cambridge, and a large proportion of them has a PhD. So in school events, you could see all those red and blue gowns, which is fun. And the other thing, so the thing about Winchester is that there are two catches, or three rather. One is that the IT policy is just unreasonable. It forces you to buy a very expensive Surface that just does not function, and they ban MacBooks. If you have found one, they'll be snatched. But I suppose IT policies are changing fast, and I'm sure other schools will have similar things. The other thing is that our current headmaster has an unhealthy obsession with reading, seeming to fail to sort of recognize the existence of STEM students. Not saying that STEM students shouldn't read, but certainly should not be sort of an hour of their life every week just, selected. You have to read in this hour, especially when you're in the top year. Well, tiny as well. Third thing is that we are bringing in boarding girls next year, full boarding girls. I know some of the day girls that has been around, and they're incredible. But with full boarding, who knows what's going to happen, and whether or not girls are willing to come to a sort of a newly converted boys' school is sort of interesting. And I'm not sure whether or not we can get sort of good sources of pupils. But I'm sure Winchester's going to be great, as it always has been. S tier, obviously. Next, Shrewsbury School. Ooh, this is one of the harder ones. I'm going to give it a B. Shrewsbury School is one of the 9 schools that Clarendon Report investigated in the 1800s, I believe. That commission that no one has heard of in this country seems to be some gold standard in China and Hong Kong and Asia in general of what makes it a good school. It's a great school itself. I know some people going there. The academic they do is they do very mid academically, and they really could have some better pupils. I don't know much about their teachers there. I'm sure they're qualified. In fact, one of our sort of Sir Master went to Shrewsbury. So I'm sure the teachers qualified. Alumni-wise, they haven't got very famous alumni. They got Charles Darwin, and that's about it. In fact, they loved him so much they gave him a statue, which he deserves, I suppose. And I suppose just saying something more about alumni is that I think all those schools has incredible alumni in history, partially because they were also one of the only schools in history. It's almost meaningless to say how many sort of Oxford students those schools produced, because when they were school 200 years ago, they were the only schools in the country. But coming into the modern day, some schools are not consistently producing famous people, where some schools are still doing that. So that's worth noting that having famous alumni means better networking, which is important. St Paul's School, S tier, obviously, an incredible school, incredible academics, the best in the country, I believe. They have an incredibly large math department, and they get tons of Oxford every year. And for some weird reason, they are regarded as the best school in China and Hong Kong and Asia, even better than Eton, which is what you would think of in this country. And it's just a great school in general. Not sure about where that view comes from, but it's a good school. Brighton College, C tier. Now that is the hottest take today. This is partially because they do great academically. They do probably the best in the country, one of the best in the country, but there are two tiny problems with it. One is that despite being at a great location by the sea, it's minuscule. The school is tiny, and subsequently, or rather independently, the school is very focused on academics, almost like a sort of exam factory, which is not great. And the other thing is that a large proportion of students are overseas students, international students, which nothing's wrong with it, but the school decided they're going to charge extra for the for being international, which just sounds a bit wrong. And in fact, I think it is the most expensive school among all the schools we are ranking today, perhaps even in the UK as well. 70k a year. This is too much. Not acceptable. Uppingham, A tier. Well, Uppingham, I actually went there myself for 3 years. It's a great school. It has sort of part of the S tier qualities. The teachers are really well qualified, and they are good as well, which you can't say about some of the S tier schools. The teachers are really well qualified. They really care. I believe the majority of them went to Oxford, and they're great. The school building is vaguely pretty. The school is quite old, 1582, I believe. No, that's not true. 1584. And it's quite pretty. We've got a brand new science centre, very good. The only problem is two problems really. One is that because we're not that famous, we can't actually sort of attract all those good students from overseas. When I interviewed for Winchester, I had people from on the same day interviewing as me, just flying in from India. That's a 13-hour flight. People come from Slovakia, who are going back to Slovakia afterwards. And we attract all the good students around the world, and hence we can be more selective about our admissions. Where Uppingham, hasn't got much to work with, and subsequently the pupils they admit are average, and because they're so average, they do less well. And talking about sort of the fellow pupils you're in the school with, does it matter they're all very excellent? I think they do in some sense, right? If everyone in the school is aspiring for UCL, it's very hard to sort of aspire for Oxford. And I suppose it's a more comfortable environment working with people who are similar to yourself in terms of academic-wise. Having said that, it kind of depends on yourself as well, right? You got all the resources you need. You have to work hard yourself. The school you go to is not going to determine what university you go to in the end. Well, let's move on. The next one, Concord College. Oh, that's a harder one. I'm putting it between a C and a B. I'm going to give it a B. And here's why. So Concord it's a great school. It's in Oxfordshire, I believe. So they do very well academically, but there are two tiny problems with it. One is that they're very new, 1949, I believe. So you can't really expect the beautiful buildings, although the buildings actually look fine, and traditions. You haven't got those things. Which again, I'm sounding unreasonable. But just remember, you're paying 60k for this place. Their university destinations is okay. They have a large proportion going to UCL, which says something about the school, and that's why it's in the B tier. The Eton College, obviously S. Oh well, I'm gonna shift the thing back. Obviously S. It's Eton. What do you want, right? It has got all the things you could possibly ask for. Incredible buildings, incredible network. They're still producing, alumni, like famous ones. So the network is gonna be incredible. You get some funny looks in this country for having gone to Eton, but I suppose it's two-bladed sword. I think people in Asia looks up to that. And one little catch I noticed about Eton myself is that their uniforms are actually not that pretty. We see sort of stereotypically everyone wears a very fancy suit, but not quite. Well, in the lower years, you're sort of you're instead of a tie, you'd wear some sort of like priest collar, and it's not that pretty. When you become a top tier and secure some sort of role in the school, you get to wear a white bow tie instead, which looks quite good. It's Eton. What do you want? Also, one of the things I know, I was talking about traditions. An example I could give is that every year sometimes they would have this tradition of all the students gathering outside the teacher's common room and booing the teachers they like and they don't like, and praising the ones they do. So traditions like this are what I'm talking about, right? You're not going to forget this. Cheltenham College. Ooh. Well, I'm giving it a B, but it might be tending towards a C. It's quite pretty. Cheltenham Ladies College is actually more famous, but Cheltenham is okay itself. It's quite pretty, very pretty actually. Again, same problem with Uppingham. They have not got many students to work with, and I think they do fake A levels like BTEC. So yeah, it's a B. Clifton, B, but it's gonna be sort of towards the A part of B. I just realized I could sort of arrange them within the tier, but I'm not going to do that in the future. But I think it's towards the higher part of B. Great school, quite pretty, very old. It has got all the things you want. Andor, B and a low B as well, which is very hot because Andor's next to Uppingham, they're rival schools, and Andor is typically regarded as better than Uppingham. But I've been to Andor a couple of times myself. I was there shooting most of the times. They have a very nice sports centre. Apparently, it's so nice and so expensive to build, they had to stop with scholarship for a couple of years to sort of fund the building of it. It is incredible though. The thing with them is that, like Brighton, they have the reason they get very good grades is that they have a large number of sixth form entrants admitted from Asia, and I think I'm going to stop there. But you see what I mean there. And again, just reminding yourself, you're paying 60k for this school. Is this really what you want? You could be going to a tutor with less money. Abington, solid C. It was the lower end of C as well. Actually, that's not true. Yeah, higher end of C, I say. The thing with Abington is I have quite a few friends and actually old teachers who have worked there. The thing is, international students would all be in one house again, which nothing's wrong with it. I'm sure the students are happy with the arrangement themselves, but that kind of undermines the point of integrating, right? If you paid your money to go to a British private school, you would want to integrate. You would want to experience the full experience rather than being in the same boarding house as your fellow international students. The reason they do that is because their sort of boarding rate's not that high, and they're quite a sporty school in a stereotypical way, right? They're very sporty. That's all they seem to care about. The school is somewhat, old school in some sense. You get some bullying happening, and yeah, that's with Abington. I'm sure it's going to change though. Modern college school, S tier solidly, but maybe towards the lower end. Is right next to Modern College Oxford, which in my opinion is the prettiest Oxford college. It has got all you would possibly want, and I suppose the only little catch which I have to make up is that, just imagine this: if you're getting rejected from Oxford, from Modern College School applying to Oxford, which happens every year, it's gonna suck, right? You're gonna feel so bad. I want to take a walk. Oh no, I can't take a walk because taking a walk would make me feel even worse. All jokes aside, it's a good school. D. Wow, I keep saying D, but that's just a way of saying I'm pulling things out. This is Westminster School, if you don't recognize the crest. It's Westminster, right? The hint is in the name. I think they use Westminster Abbey as their chapel, or at least they do services there. I'm not sure if they have their own chapel. I'd expect a student like a school like this, because it's a day school and it's in London. I didn't think they would have a college hall, but they in fact do, and it also looks magnificent. It's Westminster, right? The networking is going to be unimaginably good, and yeah, Harrow School. It's the last one. S by definition. Harrow School does less well academically compared to the other schools. The Oxford rates actually not even that high these days, but they do quite well with American schools, overseas schools. I think Harrow and Eton are the two schools that you recognise to be on the top. You recognise the most famous in this country. I think from my friends who has went there, Eton's more famous for politicians and Harrow is more famous for military. They do have a incredible military background. They still do, and which I think it's nice. Harrow is still producing famous alumni these days, and the things I noticed about Harrow, I used to live next to Harrow in London, so it's a great place. There are about 3 bubble teas that could be delivered to Harrow, which is great. I have a friend who went there a couple of years ago, who graduated a couple of years ago. So when he was in the lower years, it would have been a decade ago, the bullying there was still very violent. Queues were non-existent, and queues were non-existent. Bullying were very physical. If you're walking on the street, if you're walking away of a person higher year group, it's perfectly reasonable to be expected to be shoved with violence and things like that. But I'm sure it's with all schools a decade ago. So I'm not sure that's gonna dissuade you. I'm going to Harrow. Harrow is also remaining as 100% boys' school, along with Eton and Radley. The Big Four, which used to be a part of the Big Four, but now it's not anymore. Harrow is just a great school, worth going to. But I imagine the bullying culture takes some more time to get it out. And my friend went to West Acres. That's not true. My friend went to which house did he go to? I can't remember. But yeah, it's a good school. You get some famous Chinese politicians to send their kids there, and it's great. Here's the tier list. If you want to hear my hot takes on other British private schools, I can do one as well. I'm planning to do one on universities in the world, and it's going to be really hard, much hotter than this. I thought this is just a conventional one, but university one will be much hotter than this. Tell me what you think of that idea, and I can make it or not. Thank you for watching.